A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to another episode of Meet My Gems, an innovative and an interactive session conducted by our respected and beloved Sir Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal, a series where we explore the journeys of exemplary students of law who have achieved success under Sir's guidance so that we can try to help students and learners of law to establish clarity and perspective for the journey that lies ahead. Sir, who was himself an aspirant of the West Bengal Judicial Services Examination in the year 1999, he secured the top rank along with the highest marks. Yet, he chose the noble profession of teaching, following his passion, and that guided him to resign from the judicial service and serve the noble cause. Sir is currently the head of the postgraduate department of law of Hooghly Mohsin College. Formerly, he has also served as a faculty at the National University of Juridical Sciences, Kolkata, or NUJS, Kolkata. He is also a visiting faculty at the National Judicial Academy of the Honorable Supreme Court and the State Judicial Academy of the Honorable High Court. I pretty much believe that it is not only me, but numerous students, teachers, legal practitioners, and persons who are very enthusiastic about the field of law have all been graciously rewarded by the unfathomable knowledge in their field by Sir's guidance and his help. His teaching has inspired the lives of numerous students, and they got to understand the essence of law from its very core, exploring its own potential. Now I would like to pass to Sir, who himself was a judicial officer, to enlighten us with the objective of arranging these kind of interactive sessions. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Shiv. Today's gem in my Meet My Gem series is Ushnish Dotto, who secured the 21st rank in the West Bengal Judicial Service 2019. Ushnish, Mr. Energy, I would like to call him. Ushnish will today showcase his story of success and his secret of success, as I would like to call it. I am sure from the experience which Ushnish shares with us today, many aspirants will derive inspiration and he will become the torchbearer for so many aspirants from today's interaction. Welcome, Ushnish, to this platform of ours. Shiv, now you can proceed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to welcome Sir Ushnish Datta, who had secured the 21st rank in the West Bengal Judicial Service Examinations 2019. Sir, a very good afternoon to you. We are very delighted to having you on board this session.
A very good afternoon to Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir, and a very good afternoon to the dear viewers. At the very outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir, who have come up with this noble idea and initiative to inspire the judicial service aspirants. Secondly, I would like to thank him for allowing me to share my untold journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, sir, with your permission, on behalf of all the judicial service aspirants, I would like to ask you some questions regarding the preparation of the judicial service examinations.
Could you kindly repeat?
Yes, sir. Sir, with your kind permission, I would like to ask you some questions regarding the preparation of the judicial service examinations.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, the first question that I'll be asking is that after becoming a judicial officer, how does life take a turn? As we all know, it's a huge achievement, but along with that, it's also a huge responsibility on your shoulders. So, what are your views on that, sir?
It is an adage that with great achievements come greater responsibility. So obviously it is a moment of happiness for everybody who achieve hello Obviously, it is a great moment for everybody who achieves this feat. Secondly, I would like to tell when I received my result, like when it was announced in the official website of the WBPSC, I became very complacent and I had a sense of relief that finally my diligence paid off. The third aspect of the cracking of judicial service examination is that, see, all of us have a dream from our childhood, but when we finally achieve that goal, we often forget the responsibilities which we carry on our shoulders. To be a judicial officer, it is more than a responsibility than a power. First of all, we are the sentinels of law and justice. So we must not forget that public faith is reposed on us, and we must always uplift that public faith to the best of our capabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that was pretty much inspiring. And my second question is quite related to the last part of your answer. So, there's a popular saying that the secret to success is being consistent towards the purpose. So, my next question is that, sir, at what point of time in your life you thought of dreaming for the judicial services, and whether there were any particular incidents that really inspired you to follow this path?
uh, to share this, it is a long journey. At the very outset, I would like to say that my father, who is a legal practitioner at the High Court Calcutta, is my genesis of inspiration. So from my childhood, I have grown up within the precinct of a legal environment where I have seen my father work tirelessly, and from then I developed this idea that I have to choose this legal profession. But when I was child, I did not have this idea that whether I'll be a lawyer, whether I'll take academics as a career, or whether I'll be a judicial officer. But I had this goal that I will join this legal fraternity, whether whether in the whether in the incarnation of a judge or a lawyer, that depends on future. But when I graduated from my law school, I had this aim of becoming a judicial officer. In the way, so I appeared in 2019, though I passed out in 2017. Now there is a gap of 2 years. Now during this gap of 2 years, it's not that I only studied for the exam, but I also practiced in the Honorable High Court at Calcutta as well as the district courts, which I feel is a major turning point in my professional career and is the edifice on which I stand today.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, my next question will start with a very popular saying in Japan. So it goes like this: that better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. So, in this context, sir, can you please say something about the role of a mentor in your journey of becoming a judicial officer?
For me, my mentor, my philosopher, my guide was Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir. And there is an aphorism which states that zeal without knowledge is a runaway horse. And there comes the role of a mentor who catches you by the bridle. Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir is a source of inspiration, and his ability to elucidate or expound a legal provision or any complications in the field of law which you come up to him is second to none. Prem sir is popular to his students from all over the legal fraternity who aspire to choose law as a profession, be it academics or the West Bengal Judicial Service or other related services. Also, I would like to say that it is a quote of H.B. Adams: a teacher is an eternity. no one knows how far he can influence. So the sky is the limit for a teacher, and when a teacher becomes a preacher, we the students become disciples.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the heartfelt reply uh, to my question. Sir, my next question is, when did this journey of becoming a judicial officer begin? When did you actually decide to take up for preparation of the judicial service examinations?
Uh, so, right as it rightly goes, after graduating from Jogesh Chandra Chaudhuri Law College in the year of 2017, I decided to study for the West Bengal Judicial Service Examinations, but I was not sure that whether I'll be appearing in 2018 or in 2019. So, as I have told earlier, at the cost of repetition, I'm again saying that I intentionally took 2 years gap, and in that interregnum, I wholeheartedly practiced law in several judicial forums. Now, the journey as it went through the timeline, I have studied, I have studied, and also I have practiced at at the same time. But the problem is that we often have to strike a balance between the two aspects of your career, which is really an uphill task. So I had to balance that. I have faced many problems regarding this, but somehow I managed. Thank you.
Sir, a very important part of preparation is actually getting into the stage of preparation and strategizing oneself for preparation. For the popular saying goes that if I have 9 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend the first 6 hours sharpening my axe. So, sir, I want to ask the question regarding the preparation and strategy of the judicial service examinations. So, the first question will be, sir, which will be relating to the optional subject. What are the things that has to be kept in mind while choosing the optional subjects? Sir, if you can also say all the optional subjects, all the three optional subjects that you had chosen, and also the rationale behind choosing those optional subjects.
Uh, First of all, thank you for quoting Sir Abraham Lincoln. Uh, his quote is timeless, and it has become a gospel truth over the centuries. Uh, the next question is that what are the optional subjects I have chose? So I had taken constitutional law, I had taken the law of limitation, and I chose Hindu law. So the main reasons behind choosing these optional subjects is that I followed my instincts. There were many popular opinions that you choose that subject, that subject it is very scoring. Don't go by this subject; it is very broad. Go by this subject; it is a concise act. I never followed that. I believe that the subject which gives you confidence, and on any fine day after waking up from sleep, if you are given a pen and paper, you could write 10 pages on that subject. So that's the very important decision which an aspirant must take in choosing his or her optional subjects. It's not that you take a particular subject just because it's scoring, but you don't have grip over that subject, right? So I chose constitutional law because I have studied that in my college life. All the subjects obviously I have studied in my college life, but these three subjects in optional remain my bailiwick. So I chose these three subjects.
Okay, sir, can you please also enlighten the textbook and the various Bayer Acts that you covered? And sir, what was your general strategy and approach towards the textbook and the Bayer Acts?
See, obviously, Bayer Acts are always important for any law subject, but there is a way of reading the statute. Oftenly, we skip various portions of a statute, but for a neophyte to understand the concept and the main intention of creating or legislating a statute is that we have to read the statement of objects and reasons, the long title, because understanding the legislative intent behind the enactment of a statute is the most important factor which needs to be given attention. Obviously, I have gone through the Bayer Acts, Next comes the most important part of the preparation of judicial service examinations. That is the books you choose, because books are the founding fountain of your knowledge, along with your mentor who often guides you. He always guides you. So see, there were many subjects, especially the compulsory subjects, which covered a lot of syllabus. For them, I went for them I selected few textbooks, not more than two. Huh. Uh, so if I start with the Civil Procedure Code, I chose to read Nandi and Sengupta. Next, I chose Sarkar. I chose these two books because these are the practice editions on this subject. Most of the students or the judicial aspirants read Takwani. I did not choose Takwani because Takwani is a very nice book, but it teaches you the basics. But for a judicial aspirant to appear in a competitive exam, it is very important to notch up their level and study the concepts with a huge attention, and they must give importance to the complications which is created by a statute, and every statute has its loopholes. The next subject, if I go by evidence, I studied Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal. Along with it, I referred to Woodruff and Amir Ali, and also Nandi. So these are the practice edition books, which which may appear to be bulky, but I tell you, like if you are in court practice, these books are not hard to get. You can get it from your senior, you can get it from the library, you can get it from your mentor. No, it is not necessary to purchase each and every book which you are studying. So the next subjects, contractual law and torts. I have referred to Avtar Singh for contractual law and Dutt on contract. For torts, I believe Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal is the best book. Uh, Next is transfer of property. For transfer of property, I have read RK Sinha. RK Sinha is a very nice book. It is a student version. Almost every aspirant goes to RK Sinha. At the same time, one may refer to BB Mitra. I can tell you it is the magnum opus in the law of transfer of property. It is a concise edition. You may get that. Other subjects are for CRPC. I have read Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal. For IPC, I have read Kedigor. Kedigor is a very nice book. It gives an insightful read to all the readers. For the optionals, for constitutional law, I have chosen VN Shukla and Durga Das Basu. Durga Das Basu may appear a bit dry and a bit boring, but it's very informative. As well as VN Shukla is a very nice book for the law students as well as for the aspirants. For limitation, I must say Dr. Agarwal sir's book is one of the very best book, which gives complicated concept encapsulated in a very lucid language and is very easy for every one of us to understand. And if anyone chooses to read in detail, they may read Tia Desai, or they may read Rastomji. I have studied from Tia Desai also. For Hindu law, there is a student version book that is by Mr. Shukumar Rai. For Yes, these are the three books. Have I omitted to mention about any subject?
Uh,
I guess I've covered most of them.
yes, sir. Pretty much a lot of information and very concise information. Thank you so much for that. Sir, the next question. There's a very popular saying that the deeds of future are they depend on the doings of today. So, sir, one of the most essential skills in judicial service preparation is about time management. Sir, can you please highlight how did you manage time for various subjects regarding the preparation?
Time management is an essential skill, but we must but it is for everyone. It is impossible to create a detailed schedule. Like, not every one of us have that opportunity or that luxury to create a to create a schedule, to create a detailed schedule or a routine, as you may say, and study for the whole day, right? So many of us have alternative career options which we are pursuing along with our goal for WBJS examination. For me, I did not have a fixed routine, to be very honest. Oh, I practiced during the daytime. I went back home. I used to take rest. Then I again used to study
Okay.
till not till very late at night, but obviously considerably for 3 to 4 hours. And during the holidays, obviously, I used to devote much more time, or during the vacations, I used to study. But my preparation was not a very planned way. I never prepared in that manner. I used to find time whenever I used to get time. I used to open a book and study, and I used to read a lot of things other than this, other than the subjects which are within the scope and ambit of West Bengal judiciary. So let me share this. I have also appeared for the West Bengal Legal Service in 2018, but unfortunately the result is not yet out, and I must say that is a much more tougher exam than this. For WBJS, you have to appear for consecutive 4 days, but in WBLS we had to appear for consecutive 5 days, and there was no gap. Normally in WBJS there is a gap between the optional and the compulsory subjects, right? So that was like a litmus test for us, and also a trial for me that how this excruciating journey of those 4 days or 5 days during the main examination feels like.
Okay. So thank you so much for the inspiring reply, and also good luck for the upcoming result of the WVLS
I
services.
guess that will not bother me
Yes,
anymore.
sir. Yes, definitely. You are in the judicial. Sir. Okay, sir. So some of the subjects that are in the judicial services are very vast, like the Evidence Act, so the CPC, the Indian Penal Code, and the CRPC. Sir, what is the strategy to comply and to complete these subjects in particular, the one with very vast legislations?
See, CPC is obviously substantive law as well as procedural law. Uh, Often it is quoted that it is only a procedural law, but if you deal with it in depth, it also lays down few substantial aspects of law of civil procedure. Civil procedure code is such a subject which you have to study by mixing and matching. Like if you see a Bear Act or if you read a Bear Act, you will see that there are corresponding rules and orders of particular sections. So often when you write those provisions, it is important to punch those provisions together. And also when you were learning vast subjects like CPC or CRPC, it is very important to read the Bear Act. But these are complicated subjects. Often you don't get a fair idea what the section wants to convey. So for that you need to read the textbooks. Textbooks are an absolute necessity for for a subject like evidence. Evidence, I believe, is the most complicated legislation ever enacted in the history of India.
Yes, sir. I also feel that.
Yes, evidence law is such a subject, everyone has got loopholes. Huh. It is impossible to cover all the aspects of Evidence Act, and it is impossible to know every aspect of it, because evidence law does depend on facts and not on law only. It is it is a saying that truth is stranger than fiction, but I believe that facts can be stranger than sections. So
Okay.
evidence law is such a law that you have to grind, and it may take years, but obviously for the purpose of exam, you must have a good book which explains the concepts in a very lucid manner without dealing with the linguistic convolutions. So I always say people who ask me that take a very nice book and a book which explains the every aspect of it. For me, it was Ratan Lal and Dheeraj Lal, and also I have referred to Woodruff and Amir Ali because it is one of the best books which is in which is being used in by the legal fraternity in courts, you say, in colleges, you say. So for me, these two books were very important. But I also want to suggest for Evidence Act, there is a tendency for many students that they refer more than 2 3 books, they take help of notes. I say two is company, three is a crowd. Don't make yourself confused, perplexed, and at the end of the day you will end up being disgruntled, you will understand nothing, it will only confuse you. So you must be focused in your approach while dealing with this vast syllabus. For CRPC, I would like to tell Ratan Lal, Dheeraj Lal or Kelkar, they are very nice books, whether be it practice editions or student editions, it will help you to gather knowledge.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, what people, so there's a general understanding. I'm telling you very frankly that always we believe that traditional law schools are more concerned with the burden of legislation and teaching them. So, sir, there the approach is more theoretical. While when you come to the judicial service examination, it is more about technicalities of law and factual aspects of law or the know-hows of law. So, sir, how do you differentiate between the teaching of law in traditional law schools and that of the judicial service examinations?
Uh, more, I believe an aspirant would get the best answer of this question if they if they start their career as an advocate before becoming a judicial officer. Because more than anyone saying anything, the best teacher is your experience, the best storyteller will be your experience. So obviously it is truth that often in our college life we we mostly tend to emphasize on the theoretical aspects of a statute, but we often tend to ignore the technicalities or the practical aspects of those statutes or those disciplines of law. But when you visit a court, when you start your career as an advocate, you will find that even after knowing so many provisions, you are so unknown to so much of the procedures which are
Yes.
being carried in the
Yes.
courts. After all, you must agree that whether you become a judicial officer or you become an advocate, your days will be spent in courts, and that you cannot ignore. So it is better, I would suggest every aspirant, at least you can take 3 months internship or 3 months training under the guidance of your senior and understand the court parlance. It is very important. Also for the examination, I would like to say that in the later part, because practice gives you exposure. Exposure is more important than any other aspect.
Yes. Sir, so my next question is how did you prepare for the current affair for the prelims?
Uh, for the current affairs, I referred to Pratijogita Darpan as it was suggested by my mentor, Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal. He also suggested me the Civil Services Chronicle, and he also suggested me to read the newspapers. I used to read Times of India, and I used to read the Pratijogita Darpan.
Okay, that's
I must say that no amount of current affairs can fulfill your hunger. You will always have a gut feeling that something I am missing out, and it happens to every student. Like if you think that you have gone through every aspect of the current affairs, I must say you are on the wrong track. It is impossible for us to know everything. So, and if I go by the trend of 2019 current affairs paper, you will find it is it is made in the style of general studies paper of IAS. The general studies paper of IAS is almost like the this kind of questions where you get questions from biology even, because in 2019 we got that question from biology. Now, I would like to say that you must study class 10 standard history, geography, and physical science. Like, it may help you because you don't know what is going to come. As in 2019, we all got surprised and we all got perplexed after seeing the paper because we hardly had an idea that we will face such questions. So, everybody must also focus on the general studies of class 10 standard.
Oh, thank you, sir. Sir, also, what was the strategy regarding the English paper, the essay paper, and of the language paper?
See, for English, you cannot prepare yourself within 2 months or 3 months. Like, for English, you have to be very well versed from the very beginning. Obviously, it depends on the schooling of an aspirant, that from the childhood how he or she has grasped that subject. For me, I always refer to few books which I am going to mention, uh, because those books helped me during the interview also. So for English, obviously for the basic idioms or proverbs, you can refer to The Student's Companion by Wilfred the Best, as well as you can refer to English idioms by Siddle and McCordy. I refer these two books for my English subject, and it is my hunger to know more about this subject. It has always been my hunger. So it was not a very big deal for me, and I must say that if you have eloquence, it will be an extra feather on your head which is going to help you during the time of exam, because wordsmither is something which can cover many flaws.
Yes, sir. Sir, also, how to prepare original handwritten notes during the entire process? And, sir, how often does one need to do answer writing practice for the mains?
See, obviously, answer writing practice is a very important aspect for mains. Like, if you have enough time, you must practice writing answers, and you can show it to your mentor. He can help you with his incorporations. He may suggest you to delete a portion of your answer, or he may also suggest you to add a bit to edit your answer. Because when a mentor guides you, it is very easy for you to be on the right track. And the answer writing strategy depends a lot on your mentor, because how your mentor guides you, you will go by that. For me, my mentor has always helped me in regarding the answer writing strategy, regarding the length of the answer, regarding what to write, and most importantly, what not to write, depending on the marks of that question. So, answer writing strategy obviously will enhance your writing skills. It will speed up your writing, and thereafter, during the exam, you will feel easy, and it will be a cakewalk for you to attempt all the questions within a period of 3 hours.
Thank, thank you, sir, for the reply. Sir, one of my batchmates, Priyanka Mitra, she has asked a question that we get only 3 hours in the context of time management for one paper particularly. So, sir, how much importance is to be given on each answer regarding historical evolution, the section, the explanations, the illustration, the various case law that has to be given into the paper for a 5 marker or for a 10 or say 20 marker?
See, for a 5 marks question, one should not deal in depth with that question, or at best you can write a page, or at best more than a page, but you should not proceed further. For a 5 marks question, your answer must be abridged. It must be concise. It must be encapsulated in lucid language, and it should bring out the essence of that concept. But when you are dealing with questions which have been given for 12 marks or 10 marks, you must deal with it in details, because often there are questions which comes relating to a particular section. Now if you see, there are many sections, most most importantly in civil laws as well as in criminal laws, you can say, which has got its statutory nativity from English case laws, and the jurisprudential rationale behind the enactment of those sections or behind the incorporation of those provisions is those English cases, or even the few federal cases are there. So if you can deal with it in depth and you can trace back to the history of such provision, it will be very enlightening for the examiner who is going to check your answer. As well as you must not take too much time, because the problem I face that while writing the first answer of the exams, I found that I have completed 30 to 40 minutes while writing the first answer, and and for the next answers I had to rush in. See, this problem happens to all. You can't help this. I have tried, but I couldn't help myself to get out of this problem, because the first answer which you write is often the best answer, is often the answer which you know the best. So it takes a little more time, and and often during the beginning of your exam your handwriting is good, but when you are approaching towards the tail end of your paper, your handwriting becomes curvy, it becomes not so brisk as like the previous one. So you must have a consistent handwriting, which I could not manage. And the next is, when you are writing 12 marks paper, first you have to trace the jurisprudential rationale behind the answer. Next, you must refer to the case laws which have given birth to the to such sections. Next, you may provide case laws. Now, when you are dealing with case laws, I believe it is more than enough to write the proposition, the citation, and the title of the case law. There is no need to go to the depth of the facts of that case, because every time you don't find such time. After completing with the aspects of case laws, you can write illustrations, and you must have a peroration of every answer, which must bring out your views if possible, if it is relevant to that question. Obviously it is not always relevant, otherwise you must have a decent conclusion, and it must take it must take not more than 3 to 4 pages. At best it must be within 3 pages. For me it was not more than 3 pages for any answer. 7, except the Limitation Act, which gave 20 marks single questions.
Okay, well, so thank you for the detailed review of that question. Uh, it was asked by one of my batchmates only. Sir, the 1 month gap between the prelim and the main examination, what should be the actual focus of an aspirant to use that sort of time judiciously?
See, that hiatus is a very important period in the course of that exam, right? I made a mistake. I waited for my prelims result to come out. You should not do that, because I was little bit unsure of the prelims result, because prelims is not about your preparation. Prelims is more about your tactics and your calculation. Often if you have often it becomes very problematic for students who have studied in depth, but they made mistakes or silly mistakes in the preliminary examinations. So after giving the preliminary examination, you must not wait for your results to come out. You must take it for granted that you will be selected for the mains examination of the judicial service, and you must start your preparation from day one after the prelims exam.
Sir, generally what happens is that two mains paper are there on the same day. So what should an aspirant do in that scenario? That is the time between them.
See, the time between the two exams, obviously, it is very exhausting, but you must take one advice from me. Don't let the experience of your first paper in that day affect your second paper. No matter how well you have answered, or you could not answer to your satisfaction, don't let that shadow fall on the second examination which you are going. And in between two exams, you must intake lot of fluids, you must drink lot of water, uh, and you must take a light tiffin, because an empty stomach should not be there because it will obviously agitate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, definitely. Sir, so the next question is that in the course of preparation of judicial services, how did you balance preparation and social life, both compiling together?
See, I did not ostracize myself from the social life. Like, I know you mean to ask from Facebook or from other social media platforms. In fact, I would like to say that social media platforms helped me in many ways. Like, I arranged many past year question papers of several states, several other states, especially Delhi, Jharkhand, etc. And those questions were very good, and I found a difference that in WBJS we often get straightforward answer, straightforward questions, but if you go through papers of Delhi Judicial Services, they are much more conceptual, and for that you have to do an in-depth study. So I took those papers as examples and I studied in that way.
Sir, now I would like to ask that as you had previously said that you were also practicing in the court. So, sir, do you think practicing in the court gave you an additional advantage while competing for the
Obviously,
examinations?
obviously, practicing in court indubitably gave me an advantage because, see, practicing in court gives you an exposure to the practicality of the legal world. Often, when we study, we are encapsulated in our home, huh, and we don't realize the importance or the usage of the sections or provisions which we are studying. The usage of a section or a provision can only be understood only when you step inside the courtroom, and that gives you the other side of the story. Often the sections which you feel that it is not very important or a one liner section, you will find that after joining the court you will find that is the most used section, or they, or inversely you may take some sections to be very important, but after joining the profession of an advocate, you will find that those sections are seldom used. They are not so important. Obviously they are, every section is important, but it's seldom used. So court practice gave me a nick over other aspects of the judicial exam because I was ready for any untoward incident. Let me tell you, because when you are practicing in the court, you don't have that much of preparation or detailed preparation against the likes of the aspirants who are studying day and night. So I had this thought at the back of my mind because I have traveled a long way for 2 years, and I did not have the option to go back to the scratch and study. So I had to strike a balance. I had to run with the hare and hunt with the hounds. So for me, obviously, I would suggest that you must join court, and court the court practice will give you exposure, because when you are a junior advocate, even taking a mere passover from the division bench of a high court will instill confidence in you, because you may get rebuked by the judges, you may not, but it will expose you to a altogether different experience. It will expose you to the reality. You will learn to face the judges, you will learn to face the hardships. So it is very important to join practice, I believe so.
Well, thank you, sir. You have solved the confusion of many of the young aspirants who are trying to get into the practice and at the same time preparing for judicial examination. Sir, did you have a career backup plan like going for LLM or continuing court practice?
No, I don't have interest for pursuing further academic uh, courses, but I obviously, if I fail to crack the West Bengal Judicial Service Examination, maybe I would give two attempt. I would rather try two attempts, but I had this obvious alternate plan in my mind that I will be practicing, because I believe that practice is very important, and it the experience which you earn through practice, it cannot is simply inexplicable. Like, you cannot describe that in words.
Okay. Sir, as you had mentioned previously, that you are actively on Facebook trying to get the previous year question papers of the Delhi Judicial Services. So, sir,
Yes.
along with the preparation of West Bengal Judicial Services, were you also preparing for the judicial services of other states?
No, no, no. I was focused on the West Bengal Judicial Service because I had this problem that my optional is my mother tongue is Bengali. So if in other states, mostly Hindi is a subject which you have to write on. But since I am very weak in Hindi, so I barely had an option of traveling out of the boundary of my state and try my luck.
Okay, sir. Sir, what happens is during the preparation journey, there are many times when aspirants feel very demotivated or feel very low. So, sir, did at any point of time you've had a similar kind of experience? So, sir, what made you go through further? Or, sir, how did your mentor help in boosting your morale during the preparation journey?
Obviously, like everyone else, I have also been to the doldrums, and I have also been depressed. But that was for a ephemeral state, and it failed to take me for a ride. And because, see, depression, or sometimes you feel anxious because you may feel that you are not in the right track. No much, no matter how much you study, you may feel demotivated. You may think that you are running out of time. You may think that syllabus is so vast you won't be able to reach the end of it. So at that time, at that point of time, the role of a mentor comes into play. For me, obviously, it was Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal sir who have helped me and lifted me out of this problem. And he has always advised me that it is impossible to know everything, and there is always a possibility of forgetting. See, if you are studying and if you are forgetting something, it's very normal because we have got brains, right? We don't have memory card installed in our body that we will memorize everything which we are going to study. So it is very natural to forget, but slowly you will overcome this, because the more you study, the less you will forget. Suppose if you study 10 pages, you may forget 2 3 pages, the contents of 2 3 pages, but obviously those 7 pages will help you out to get out of the trouble.
Okay, sir. Sir, we all have popularly heard that failure is not the opposite of success. It is rather a part of success. So, sir, there are many people who fail in their attempts, the first attempt or the second attempt. Sir, would you suggest something that how can people cope up with the fear of failure in this journey and try again?
See, obviously there is a saying that failures are the pillars of success. And it is an universal truth. Believe me, your failures must get tired of your indomitable spirit to succeed. That's the main that's the main essence you should have inside your heart. And you should not be demotivated, or you should not be crestfallen after failing to crack in a single attempt. For me, fortunately, it was a single attempt. It was my first attempt, but there are many other aspirants who failed to qualify for this exam at their very first attempt. There is nothing to worry about. You can try for the next two attempts. God forbid you don't have to go for the last attempt. But there is nothing to worry about. You can, at that time, you must check that where have you gone wrong. The process of your studying, the root of your problems which you have faced during the first attempt, you must try to get out of that. And obviously, like, it is an apodictic statement that you should not be, like, very demotivated only after failing for the very first attempt. And you should not be concerned about your age, though it's a practical problem for many students, like which they face in their social strata of their life. So you must not allow your goal to sail away from you just because of these extraneous factors. So you must stick to your goal. Like, if you have if you have the willpower, you can crack even in the last attempt, and you
Well,
may and you may even become a topper, right? There's nothing is impossible.
well, thank you, sir. I am sure that was inspiring for nearly all of the aspirants who are watching us currently. Sir, now I'd like to proceed to the questions related to the interview.
Yes.
Uh, so there are many aspirants who are very nervous of public speaking or speaking in an interview, and this nervousness kind of overpowers them while sitting in an interview. So, sir, how did you actually prepare for the interview?
See, I would be lying if I say I wasn't nervous. Obviously, everybody who appears for interview happens to be nervous, right? But I had this problem that I had I had this thing in the back of my mind that I must be able to answer all the questions which will be asked to me. But obviously, during the interview session, I failed to answer one or two questions. But after that, I realized that it is very normal. Like, they don't ask you, the honorable members of the interview board don't always ask you the questions which they know that you will be able to answer. Intentionally, they may try to land you in a quagmire and see how you get out of that difficulty. Maybe they are just testing your reactions. Like, many hurdles you may face during the interview session, but if you fail to answer any question, you must not be aggrieved about that. One or two question may get slipped. Like, for me, it was also a very practical thing. Like, I was asked many questions from the criminal law, and let me tell you, criminal law is a weaker side of me. I have got very limited exposure and experience in that field. So I failed to answer one or two questions in that field, but it did not affect me. And about the nervousness, you see that everyone is going through the same feeling, right? And but if you have the experience of court practice, if you have the experience of facing the courtroom, I must say that it will help you, because you will be habituated to such situation more than often. So that is something which have helped me. So I never got nervous because I am going to appear before the honorable members of the interview board, but I was nervous about this aspect, that what will happen if I fail to answer any question, or my marks may get deducted for my inability to answer.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think that was really a very practical insight regarding the interview preparation. And sir, what was your experience with the overall interview that took place? And sir, what sort of questions were asked during the interview process?
Yes, see, from the interview session, the experience which I have gained, I must share that, mm, obviously they will test your knowledge, they will test your personality, and they will also test your reactions. First of all, when I entered the interview hall, I was asked about myself, to give a brief introduction of myself, and then the honorable chairman asked me about my hobbies and what I do in my pastime. So those were the general questions, introductory questions which I encountered. After that, what took me aback was, I was asked riddles. I was asked palindromes, though I was not prepared with all of them. But somehow I managed. I failed to answer one, but I was able to answer two of them. And you may often encounter uh, any other kinds of riddles, or they may ask you metonyms, they may ask you one word substitution, anything can come. Like I was asked what is the study of coin called. I was able to answer that. I was then asked about a riddle, but I could not answer that. I tried hard, but I couldn't. And then
Okay,
after, obviously, they will ask you questions about the legal field. I was asked that, which is the interest, which topic is my interest, which topic is my interest. I said that I have worked on civil law and it is a very interesting topic for me. So I was encountered with questions in that field also, as well as I was asked from the criminal law, where I suffered a bit. But overall, it was a very nice session. They will not make you feel nervous. They will be very cordial to you in a very informal way. They will react to it, and they will not express their reaction even if you answer a question wrongly. Like if you answer something very positively or very correctly, obviously you will have a sense of conviction in yourself that yes, you are very sure about your answer. But they will not react to it. Neither they will react to your failure to answer any question. They will take over to another question without further dealing with it.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I think this practical insight was really very important and necessary for all the aspirants to know. Sir, one interesting question. Like, if by any means you had the power to travel back in time and if you travel to the interview back again, so is there something that you would have done or you would have escaped doing, not done it? Anything?
See, I will obviously try to answer those questions which I couldn't answer. I believe that will give me more confidence and ability. But now, since it is not possible to travel back via a time machine, so let it be.
Okay, okay. So there's a very popular saying like, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. In this context, sir, how much satisfaction does the name that you qualified, the judicial service, and you are now currently a judicial officer? So, sir, how important is this actual satisfaction that you are serving the cause of the society? Sir, to be very precise, I want to ask that how healthy it is towards the contribution of society rather than practicing any other field of law.
See, I would like to quote a proverb. It is often said, "A pen is mightier than the sword." And whose pen is mightier than the judicial officer? I don't know. For the cause of the writing for the cause of the society, like
Yes.
when one is writing judgments or delivering judgments, I believe that person should deliver his or her judgments with fear or favor, because that only will ameliorate the cause of the society, the hardships of the society. We must think that a litigant only knocks the doors of the court when his or her rights have been infringed, when he or she have been wronged. Then only they come to the court, and it is our inbound duty to help them, to fight for, to to deliver them justice, because justice is more than a concept. Justice is life, because justice is something which is simply inexplicable, and it is more than one's job, it is more than one's life, it is more than one's relation, because often these are the problems with which a litigant come to the court. Like, one may have a problem regarding his property, one may have been falsely accused in a case which may hamper his career, which may hamper his relations, which may hamper his career prospects. So obviously, without these things, what is life? Life would be an empty vessel, right? So the pain of a judicial officer should be very careful. Always it must always function without fear and favor, and must always fight for the cause of the society, because society society is the strata of this whole world where we all live, and it is a concept. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Sir, you can continue.
Yes.
You're audible.
Yeah, thank you. See, society is more than a cause. It is such a strata of life where we all live, and every person forms the components of society. So a judicial officer, I believe, is one of the most important components of such society, where we can deliver justice, we can deliver relief to the clients we can be, I mean, the litigants who have been wronged. So we must be very cautious about our responsibility, and we must be very vigilant about our duties.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the very, very inspiring reply. So, thank you so much, Sir Ushnish Datta, for delving into such a detailed discussion with all the aspirants of the Judicial Service Examination and also all the people who are very enthusiastic about law. I'm sure that all the insights that he has given is indeed very helpful. I want to thank you, sir, once again. Uh, on behalf of all the judicial services aspirants, I would also love to extend my thanks towards our respected Sir Dr. Prem Kumar Agarwal. So tomorrow is Teachers' Day, and hereby I take the opportunity of remembering something that once Sir said. So once I guess Sir was asked somewhere about teaching profession in law, and Sir had replied that he has always and is always and will be always a student of law. So I think such an exemplary and outstanding reply of his unfathomable knowledge, this is enough to testify to that fact. Thank you, sir, for mentoring and guiding so many students towards the glorious career of judicial services.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you, Ushnish, for being my guest in the series Meet My Gems, episode number 12. I'm sure the way and the details with which Ushnish shared his secret of success today will give meaningful insight to various aspirants of the judicial service. But then today, Ushnish again raised this issue of practice versus theoretical study. If you can balance, it is beneficial. But then one has to remember that even in Ushnish's case, his senior was his father. So if you have some accommodative senior like that, it becomes easy. But even then, if you can balance between your preparation theoretically and practice, you may go for it. But remember, aspirants, the questions which are asked in the written examination are not exactly from your knowledge of practice. So, preparation of the theory part is more important than practice, at least for the written examination. Your experience of practice may give you an edge during the interview, but then if you go for practice at the cost of preparation of the theory, you may score low in the written examination, and which can be disastrous. But then if you can balance between the two, nothing like that. Ushnish gave us many more insights into how to go about this elaborate examination to become a judicial officer. Thank you, Ushnish, once more for your candid discussion and helping the aspirants with a flummoxed state of mind. Shiv, now you can proceed to conclude the program.
Uh, Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to interact with such a precious gem of yours. And I think it's a great privilege for all the judicial service aspirants who will be watching this and endeavoring their journey along with your help and you by their side. I think anything is possible. And, sir, once again, thank you for the way you teach, the way you mentor the students, mentor all the students like us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.